I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What I've learned from writing my book and spending so much time with the men and women of the greatest generation is how much they can teach the rest of us, the youngsters, the people my age, my children, and my grandchildren. What we've learned from their lives, their courage, their determination, is that if we work together, we are greater than the sum of our parts. Those members of that time continue to give how the flame of public service for them is never dimmed.
Were you in combat?
I was tank commander on the M4 Sherman.
Where and with what enemy forces?
France, Belgium, then Germany. We were one of the first tanks into Germany. We had, and we went completely through Germany, and then of course we got to a place called Paderborn, Germany. We lost our general. General Maurice Rose was the best officer that we ever served under. The Tiger tank shot him 24 times. And so from that day on till the war ended, we didn't take any more prisoners. There were some pretty good sized battles, but anytime you get shot at, it's a big battle. I promise you that.
What is the most significant moment or strongest memory from your time in the war?
The day I was wounded, I was hit by 88 shell right by I had my head out the turret. We were supposed to be at a place where there were no more tanks, going down the road, and I heard a tank fire off in the distance, and the next thing I knew, shell hit my side of my turret right by me, and it erupted the shell and hit me on the side of the face. So they took me into the medics and they doctored me up, and my gunner and my loader took over the tank and pulled into the first area they could find where there were some houses. And about that time they faced a Tiger tank. And they did the only thing they could do. They took a white phosphorus shell that we used to use. And white phosphorus is to mark areas, and it'll burn through anything. And they took 2 shells out and fired both of them, hit 2 tanks and knocked them both out.
What was it like coming home?
Coming home was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I got to see my wife, my 14-year-old daughter that I'd never seen. 14-month-old, I'm sorry. And first time that I'd ever seen her. And it was just the greatest thing that ever happened to me, I guess.
When you heard about the war, did you automatically want to join?
It was in 1942. My brother and I went in Trenton, New Jersey, and enlisted in the Marine Corps. We were shipped to Parris Island, where I did my boot camp.
Were you in combat?
Yeah, we didn't even know where we were going. And we went through Hawaii and Pearl Harbor, and we said, oh, geez, this is going to be good duty, Pearl Harbor. Oh, no, you're going on to Guadalcanal. You're relief for the first troops in. When I went to Guadalcanal, we were in the second wave, and the only thing that ever disturbed me was seeing the bodies being holes dug and pushing bodies, our own boys in, and that really affected me.
Were there times where you feared for your life?
The one that really bothered me most of all, we had one up in the tree, shot and put a bullet right through my buddy's helmet and killed him right alongside of me, and I nailed him up in the tree. And when he came down, he just fell down. I don't know why. They usually tie themselves in, but he fell down and he was filthy, dirty, and really a crummy thing. But he had already killed my buddy, you know. And we had him sneaking through the lines at night. Lucky one of the fellows in the tent was an Indian, our Indian, and from a tribe here in the States, and he felt the guy come in, and he never said anything until the guy went to choke him, and then he let loose.
What is the most significant or strongest memory of your time in the war?
You know, I didn't enjoy killing the other guys, but it was either kill or be killed. You know, it wasn't big thrill, you know. Even that crummy bastard up in the tree. We're 72 of us enlisted from Trenton, and 31 of us came back. Both my brother and I came back.
What branch of military did you serve?
Well, I went through training in the Coast Guard in Miami and New Orleans, and they taught you just about everything that you would see. So whenever something happened, it kind of shook me up, but it really didn't disturb me because I was trained, this is what you have to do.
Were there times when you were afraid or feared for your life?
During the invasion, Jap planes were just dropping bombs on ships on both sides of us. And one come in flying low, real low like that, where you couldn't shoot him, the pilot, because you'd be shooting the other ships. And he'd come up and dove down the stack of the Alabama battle wagon. That's committed suicide. He figured he'd put it out of service. And that's Japanese. They done anything to try to keep it.
Were you in combat?
His combat experiences really had a lot to do with jumping in the water and swimming to the mines and putting a timer on it and then swimming like speed, you know, to get back to the boat. And I think he was kind of blown out once, but he stayed with it and came in.
Can you tell me the story of the Doolittle raid?
At the outset, everyone concerned thought that the takeoff would be the most critical thing or challenging thing. It turned out to be the easiest thing. We were off a good maybe 30 feet before the end of the deck, and we climbed out, circled around at about 1,000 feet over the carrier. They held up a big heads-up board that gave us a course to Japan, and so we headed for Japan. The flight to Japan was about 4 hours. Colonel Doolittle pulled the airplane up to 1,500 feet. We dropped our incendiary bombs and went back down to 300 feet. And we flew maybe 75 miles south of Tokyo before we turned toward China.
What happened when you bailed out?
We had pulled up to 9,000 feet when we ran into the storm because you couldn't see anything, and due to darkness and the visibility limits. And we flew on a heading that Hank had provided until the gasoline indicators were indicating empty, and we bailed out. We all bailed out successfully. Nobody was hurt or injured.
Do you still fly a B-25?
I'm 95 years old and still fly B-25 if invited.
What did it feel like to be in World War II?
The reconnaissance troop would tend to go to a spot, try to determine what was there, who was there, but in that process, people are shooting at you. And the one thing that is always around is the whiz. It goes zip, and you know a bullet has missed you.
Tell me about your combat experiences.
We had gotten ahead of the infantry, which is what our job was, and had scouted out the airfield at Malabele. And as we were examining what was available around that field, we received gunfire. we tried to estimate how many people or enemy were shooting at us. Sometimes you have to make a very rough guess, but we reported back by radio to headquarters, and we were told to leave immediately, and an infantry unit was going to come up and take on whatever Japanese group were there.
Tell me about the first home-cooked meal you got after you came home.
My favorite was meatloaf, German style, with the egg in the middle of the meatloaf, sauerkraut, and a chocolate cake. It was somehow called an icebox cake. Can't remember how it's made, but it tasted awfully good.
What do you love about this country?
What I love about this country is freedom. An opportunity to do whatever you're capable of doing, an opportunity to raise a family, an opportunity to have a vote that really does change government, where so many countries never have that chance.
The United States people don't know how great it is. They ought to take a look at some of these other countries, and then they'll respect it more.
I love everything. And, we have some problems, but we're going to get them ironed out.
What I love about the country is the freedom that we have. I consider it one of the most precious things.